Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, episode 225.
Ooh.
I'm Chris, and joining me today are...
Ames.
Caitlin.
Jake.
And...
Any special guests here?
Oh, Carl. Hi.
There
Hello.
he is!
Yay! Hey, Carl.
Sorry. Thank you. Hi.
And today we will be looking at Covenant and It's Only a Paper Moon. First up in Covenant, Kira's just gotten back from services and has a talk about faith with Odo, and then she goes back to her quarters where she is visited by Vic Fontaine, a Bajoran cleric who was, really important to Babby Kira. He taught in the, shitty little cave where her resistance cell or whatever lived, or the camp, or both. And he gives her a weird little crystal that goes from a wee little crystal to a big little crystal in her hand between shots. And then she's beamed away to DS9 Empok Nor.
Is that a little crystal in your hand, or are you just excited to see me?
No, but who is excited to see her are the Pah-wraiths cultists who have set up on Empok Nor as their new base of operations. And everyone's all like, no, the Pah-wraiths, they're actually the true gods of Bajor. And the Master will see you soon. And, if you're like me, you're thinking, well, yeah, obviously Vic Fontaine's the Master, but no, dumbass.
Oh, you had no idea.
Gul Dukat.
Oh, shit. This is exciting.
I had no clue.
If I had seen this, I had forgotten it. But while that wasn't obvious to me, other things that we'll get to were.
Same.
So yes, thanks to having had a Pah-wraith shoved up his pie hole, he is now
He shoved down the pie hole.
Yeah, either
It's
way.
the pie hole.
Nice, there it is.
Gul Dukat is now a true believer of sorts and is leading the cult of the Pah-wraiths. And, Kira's there and he's trying to convince her, I'm a new man. I'm not evil. I'm the head of this religion that you think is evil.
I just want to save you.
Yes, like me, this religion isn't evil. And Kira's all like, wow, you found a way to get some Bajorans to love you. How fucking you all over.
Just like your mom. Oh!
Yeah, there's a little discussion of mom, which is creepy. And, it comes out, there's this one couple, there's a babby on the way. It's like, yeah, she was given his special blessing. And Kira's like, oh, so he controls, who can and can't have kids? And it's like, well, limited resources and blah, 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 cult, yada, yada. And about now, you might be thinking, this babby's probably gonna look like him, isn't it? And, hey, sure enough, when the babby is born, it is a little gray thing with, little ridges around the eyes, and it's a wee little foot in, what's her name, part 2?
ZL.
Yes, ZL part 2.
I thought
part 5, depending on if you count the actors or characters.
So many
I think
ZLs.
the baby honestly just looked more Cardassian than anything.
Well, either way. And, everyone's like, and Dukat's like, it's a miracle! And, pretty much the whole cult is like, that makes sense. Although you can see in the husband's eyes kind of like, does it? The husband, by the way, has been painting this awful portrait of Dukat.
I loved it. I want one.
I mean, it's well done, but I mean, it's aggrandizing Dukat.
Felt very Make America Great Again.
So then, cut to Ladyface in an airlock. Great place to meet.
My best rendezvous are in airlocks.
Yeah, seriously, did not think this through. Dukat shows up, and she's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if it was yours or not. And he's like, no, it's okay. And
well, no, but he was like, why didn't you tell me it was my baby? And she's like, how the fuck was I supposed to know?
Yeah,
or at least that's what I would have been thinking. Because, last I checked, you don't just find out you're pregnant and go, oh, yeah, I know exactly whose baby this is, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been fucking two people, which she obviously
and they don't have medical shit on this station because they're running by the skin of their teeth at this point.
I feel like a tricorder would be able to tell you all this.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's the future.
So, he's like, well, I had a moment of weakness. Pah-wraiths have forgiven me, yada, yada. Anyway, time to space you. So he goes to space her, but luckily for her, she clings to, like, the side of the airlock enough that she doesn't get sucked out. Pressure equalizes and she collapses, and luckily Kira and, was it Fala? Probably Fala. We're looking for her anyway. They find her just in time. She's alive. Dukat's like, oh, fuck. And he goes to, like, pray to his little Pah-wraith fucking altar. He's like, what do I do? And then he decides, I know what I'll do. Jonestown it!
Yay!
So everybody's lining up to poison themselves. One or two people look vaguely like, but are still like, eh. And then, they're all getting ready to take the kill pill. Kira has broken out of her quarters and tackles Dukat from a balcony. And he goes scrambling for his pill because there's a bunch have gone everywhere. And Kira's like, wait a minute. Aren't they all the same, Dukat? And oh fuck, Dukat was going to let himself live. But weirdly, he still seems to be a true believer, which is bonkers. He beams away, the cultists are all like, what the fuck? The Vedic takes suicide pills anyway, because we're not entirely sure. End of episode.
Yeah.
So old Gul Ducky's gone a special kind of kooky.
Well, he's got a special kind of religious, and so much of the religion talk in this episode is so strange, because it's basically Kira being the biggest hypocrite and being like, the Pah-wraiths aren't gods, and Dukat saying, the prophets, but if the Pah-wraiths aren't gods, what are the prophets, Kira? Explain that, Kira.
Well, they're not gods, they're demons.
It's very silly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the whole Pah-wraith cult thing seems to be based around, which I think what's good is it makes it make a little more sense why people would follow them, but, one of the main tenets is, if the prophets actually gave a fuck about us, why did they let the occupation happen and suffering? And, apparently the Bajoran answer to that is the Christian answer to, why does God let bad things happen to good people? It's an unknowable plan!
The prophets work in mysterious ways, and they like to bang Joe Sisko.
Yeah, I mean, the real lesson is that, they are aliens who generally don't give a fuck, but if you happen to be in their house and are like, hey, could you get rid of this fleet for me? They'll go, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess, are we so sure that Dukat isn't right? Because,
Dukat is always right.
It does seem like the prophets are kind of dickheads. And, honestly, we haven't seen all that much from the Pah-wraiths other than taking over Keiko and Jake. But,
And Dukat.
I mean, they aren't very nice either. So I say fuck all of them.
Yeah, that works.
Blow up the wormhole.
Yeah, I can think, the prophets are shitheads, but also, what little we have seen hadn't been great. It's been I'm gonna... take over this woman and threaten her life to get back at my enemies. It's, I'm going to take over this kid to have a Dragon Ball Z fight. I'm going to take over this lizard man and kill this woman because she happens to be in a room. At the very least, neither of them seem, one is more actively dickish and one is dicks in that they could do more but don't.
Yeah, we don't really bring up that. So Kira is talking with Dukat, who has gone full, I believe in the Pah-wraiths by now, because one of them inhabited me once, and that was cool. But Kira was once inhabited by a prophet once, and I don't know if we ever really hear much about if that had any lasting effects.
Yeah, you think she would have brought that up?
I thought so. There was a moment
with him
when I was like, Kira too, though. You guys can bond over this. It'd be hot.
That's true.
I mean, obviously, I think the thing is, Kira was already pretty faithful, so I imagine it wouldn't have a huge, it'll just reinforce what's already there, as opposed to, Gul Ducky, who's, now just out of his fucking tiny tree.
Yeah. Probably just one more orb experience for Kira.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah, and I feel like, for Kira, it was transcendental and beautiful. For Gul Dukat, it was the most outstanding orgasm of his life, and he's going to be chasing that dragon for the rest of time.
Yeah. And it is another way for him to get power, which is what it always comes down to. I think we should praise Mark Alemo for how For how, and especially for how compelling he makes Dukat, even though at this point we know all his shit. Like, nothing that he does is a surprise at all.
No,
in
and
this.
Kira outright states it throughout the episode.
She knows his all his deals too. Like, that's what's so satisfying about this to me. Like, in a way, this is kind of like Kira sort of gets to win the debate that you never can win, that you always want to win with people. And like, you know, to draw sort of MAGA parallels, like, you know, there are a lot of Christians who are horrified that the religious right has gone so far MAGA, to the extent that some think that Trump is like chosen by God. And this is it. This is the most straight ahead drama on that I've seen.
Oh God, it's tangentially related. I hated their red earrings.
Yes.
Oh.
Because like, I'm sure the real ones are probably plastic too. The other ones are probably plastic too, but like they're able to paint them in such a way they look metallic. These look like they came out of a goddamn supermarket, like quarter bubble. Like they just look chintzy and cheap, and like I wish they'd done more to make them look like something other than the plastic they clearly were.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, it was super distracting, especially Dukat's, because it stood out against his gray skin more than it stood out against any of the human skin tones.
Yeah, but he's going to, like, when he tore it out, he tore his ear.
Did he?
Yeah, he's going to need to get some plastic surgery to patch that up.
Oh, it's a joke for the future. You'll get it next week, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, and I appreciate getting the chance to talk about a Kira Dukat episode very much, but like the trajectory this sends Dukat on for the rest of the series is totally fascinating to me. And what we get in the 10-part finale is so, I don't know, I think people love and hate it, but I'm just fascinated by it. And it all starts here. Nice.
No spoilers, but I'm very excited.
Yep.
Because I think, like, the really exciting thing about Dukat in this episode is that the writer specifically included that scene where he's praying to the Pah-wraiths just for him. Like, there's no one around to be showing off for. He's doing it because he believes. And I think it's implied an awful lot that he decides to Heaven's Gate everybody. But I kind of wonder if the Pah-wraiths told him.
Yeah, they're who knows? They're a weird bunch. I mean, because the thing is, like, if they want to build this cult, like, well, this cell isn't gonna work. We gotta start over, but we'll need this guy. But yeah, no, you're right. I had the same thought. It's like they're pulling out. It's like pulling away. You know, the shot's growing wider, and it's like, this isn't for anyone.
Yeah, no one's here.
This is weird. He doesn't have to do this unless he wants to.
See, I don't know.
Holy shit.
I don't think the Pah-wraiths really need worshippers. Like, I think Dukat needs worshippers.
The Pah-wraiths need people to
just
possess.
need Dukat. You know, they need someone to kind of do their bidding. And you know, if Dukat can like create this cult of personality around himself that he's always wanted, that's a bonus for him.
Yeah, well, I think what it comes down to is like they clearly need agents in the world in a way that the prophets don't. Possibly because they're in the fire caves or whatever, and their abilities are limited. Yeah,
they need someone to help.
So it's like, all right, easiest way to get people is to like make a little cult. This guy, like you said, Jake, it's like, this is perfect because this guy wants Bajorans to love him. We'll set him up as our popal thing.
Thing?
Yeah,
purple thing.
Popal leader.
Purple people leader?
That's the one
you said?
Except they're not purple. Damn. But yeah, no, I think you're right that they probably don't actually give a fuck about being worshipped, but it's a means to an end in this scenario.
Itsy bitsy, teeny weeny, yellow polka dot bikini.
Yes, that's what he wants Kira to wear.
Linguini.
That's going to be the new
fettuccine.
You know, the Heaven's Gate people had like, you know,
the
Nike
Nikes.
trainers and whatever, and Dukat's going to have sexy thong bikinis for the women.
No, everyone, including himself.
Oh, that's all right.
Kira reminded me a lot of Princess Leia in this episode. Just in terms of, like, she is powerless in being abducted, but she has the power of, like, not giving a shit.
Yeah.
She kind of saves herself a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love, just as a detail, I love, like, the space heaters just did a lot to say that they didn't have a lot of power. And then at the end, she realized, oh, yeah, I can escape with the space heater.
Yeah, it was a nice, like, continuity thing. You know, they established the space heaters earlier. Like, at first, it's kind of like, okay, what are these things? And then, just very subtle, they had her, like, hold her hand over one to warm it. And it's like, okay, now I get it. Those are space heaters. And then to tie it back later with the escape, I don't know. I think that was good continuity and good, like, setting that up throughout the episode.
Yeah, because Empok Nor is still kind of shit and full of all those people Garrick killed.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had to, like, mop up so much human remains from the carpet.
I forgot about that.
Well, Empok Nor has like a self-cleaning, sort of like a stove. That was one of the things the Cardassians built in. So Gul Dukat just ran that before he started his cult there.
No, actually, it's just he activated the Roombas.
Just a fleet of Roombas.
Yeah, little Cardassian Roombas. They got a spoon on them.
In fact, they are just spoons.
There's also like a Kevon somewhere, just like still spazzing out in a
hallway. That was also Empok Nor.
Oh no,
Poor
the fucking
Kevon.
the Wayun thing. The
Vorta,
thank you. Yeah, I forgot about him. The poor reanimated fellow.
Imagine being the person that stumbled across that nightmare. Especially because, like, by now it's probably
He's probably decaying.
But what if it was, like, just decayed enough that it was horrifying looking, but not decayed enough that it's collapsed?
No.
So it's just like
it's zombieing
it's like
about.
a zombie.
Every time it lands, it's not so much a solid thud as a...
Gross.
Great, I'm glad we're making this noise.
Well, that's good radio anyway. I'm not sure who it's good for, but it is good.
I love to... Classic Star Trek. Well, it's science fiction in general. The place isn't quite working because it's on its side in scare quotes.
Oh, that was funny, yeah.
The establishing shot, it's always just like off kilter, even though there's no up in space.
I mean, that's how you know it's the bad Deep Space Nine.
I did like the addition of that little like proto nebula with the Babby star in it. That was a nice little touch. Like, oh, that's nice.
So the whole setup. So they say that they get a Jem'Hadar, when Odo and Cisco and Curly are kind of trying to do a research how this happened. They're like, oh, there's a transporter trace here. It's from the Jem'Hadar. It's a Dominion thing. And they can beam farther than us. And they're like, yeah, they can beam 3 light years. And I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, 3 light years is not very far in. Like, that's like what?
Not in Star Trek.
Yeah, like. And she was beamed directly to Empok Nor, it appeared. Like, she just disappeared from her quarters and appeared on Empok Nor. So I figure it wouldn't take too much to narrow down the list of possible places she could have gone.
I mean, the thing is, what they're thinking is they don't realize she's been sent to a station. For all they know, she's been beamed to a star, which has warped away in any direction.
Well, or like any planet in the vicinity besides.
Yeah, but that's what's interesting too is we were talking about last time we saw Ducky. He still had his. We know he still had a shuttle because he had a Starfleet transporter. But now he specifically seems to have gotten access to a Dominion transporter again. So he seems to have gotten himself a new ship somehow.
Yeah, or maybe I don't know. Was there still a Jem'Hadar ship at Empok Nor from the Magnificent Ferengi?
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good question.
Maybe they just cannibalized that for parts.
It's possible.
And they ate Kevon.
Well, he was good and tenderized.
I thought Fala was an interesting character in this. What did you all think of Fala?
I wish we got a little more of him. Because it was kind of like they established who he was and how important he was to Kira, and they had a few conversations throughout the episode. But he did sort of mention in passing that he had become disillusioned with the Prophets and joined up with this group before Dukat had even shown up. It sounds like he said not long before or after the occupation ended. So, like, he's actually quietly been one of these people for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's
no
pretty
one
interesting.
noticed either, it seems.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, the first we heard of this cult was, the start of this season, but it's apparently been very quietly existing the whole time, retroactively. And, I think that, to me, is I would like to have spent maybe just a little more time, because that's really interesting. Someone who it seems like was probably pretty devout losing his faith because, it's understandable. You go through what he went through in the occupation. And yeah, I could see him going like, anytime, gods. Hello? Hello?
I kind of wish they'd had established that character. I mean, I say this a lot. I wish they had established that character before this episode.
Oh, they don't have a plan. The writers haven't planned any of this.
But it would have been nice. Like, I know, we used to have, Belial or, whoever that could be someone from Kira's past.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if like there was still a character like that they could have just pulled out of mothballs to be like, oh, hey, Vedic old friend.
Nope, the only one we've got left is Shakar, and no one likes him anymore.
Well, and Shakar's not even religious as far as I can tell.
That's right.
Like,
yeah, probably not.
Yeah, no, he's
yeah. So
he's definitely a 3D.
It would have made sense if they didn't kill off Belial. It would have made. I think that would have been a more impactful situation. But then again, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe a bit too much. A bridge too far.
When Fala kills himself, he just says faith, and Kira says, I can't tell whether he still had it or whether he was warning me not to use it. And like I didn't take either of that from him. I thought he was just filled with despair. And he's sort of like either he's got despair and he's said, this is enough, or he is somehow hoping that even with everything that's happened, the Pah-wraiths will still take him in.
Yeah, something like that. Like, I don't think, because Kira asked, like, oh, I don't know if it meant that like he lost his faith, and I don't think he did. I think because I've a couple of the elements I've read about this episode is that he's such a fascinating character because he has so much faith in the Pah-wraiths and in Dukat that when he sees it's not all working out, all he has left now is that faith. That he kind of, like, there's nothing else for him to do.
Exactly. He's burned every other bridge, and it really makes things untenable for him.
I also think, going back to the kind of Trump analogy, there are, yes, Dukat has now been shown to be a charlatan. At the same time, I think that there are still people that are the still true believers that despite being shown to be a charlatan and despite being shown to be duplicitous and an asshole, are still going to drink the Kool-Aid.
There are people who literally a charlatan and an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta believe this is, in Trump terms, this is the rough equivalent of, like, the night after the storming of the Capitol, where, like, for 24 hours, Lindsey Graham is willing to say, okay, you've gone too far. And then, probably he could have won some of them back if he'd stuck around. But it's just too much in that one moment.
Yeah, but I think the people that are Trump fans, not like politicians, but the
masses,
the small folk, they are certainly still on that train.
Yeah.
And, or at least I assume a lot of them still are from what I've gathered online. And I think that, maybe if you've bought so far into a line of bullshit, even despite overwhelming evidence that it is bullshit, coming to terms with that and being able to make the acknowledgement that, oh yeah, I was wrong, might be too much. And maybe, I don't know, my thought on Fala is that he took the pill because even despite seeing everything he had just seen, he still believed that Dukat was the emissary of the Pah-wraiths, and that, and that to demonstrate his faith of the Pah-wraiths, he had to, shed his mortal coil.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of this was actually inspired by Heaven's Gate, because I just looked it up. That was only a year before.
It was very specifically inspired by Heaven's Gate.
Interesting.
Although what's interesting, though, is even though it's inspired by Heaven's Gate, I feel like it's got somewhat more in common with Jonestown, because, by all accounts, his name escapes me, but the leader of Heaven's Gate, was not full of shit. Like, he really...
he went with him.
He really believed it. He was going on that spaceship Whereas like, and I mean, yeah, Jim Jones also went on the spaceship, but like, I feel like there was a difference between like Jim Jones is much more of a Dukat figure.
Yeah.
Than the Heaven's Gate guy in the
I
sense
also
that
think
it was a cult of personality.
There's a lot more fucking in Jim Jones' cult, whereas I don't think
there seems to have been some fucking in Gul Dukat's. Are you talking about the other one?
Yeah, I think Heaven's Gate, is that the one where the men actually castrated themselves, or was that a different one?
Well, here's the thing. Most cults, even if you're telling the people in it that they need to like cut off their balls and not have sex, you're doing it because you want to fuck their women and take their money, probably. And I feel that tends to be a lot of cults, is that the people who start it are like, yeah, you should turn over your property and your wife to me. And
yeah, but again, like, the Heaven's Gate guy was weird. He seemed to actually like buy his own weirdness.
Interesting.
He was a 90s cult leader.
Yeah.
Very enlightened.
I mean, they had a cool website. That, as far as I know,
they?
Well,
still do.
They still do. Yeah, there was I was reading a thing about how one member, two. Okay, yeah. So a couple of members were, were nominated to basically stay behind so that they could maintain the website in perpetuity
and answer media inquiries.
Yeah. So like,
whoa.
The ironic thing, right, is that they are obviously the lucky ones, but in their opinion, they're like, man, how do we get stuck with this fucking job?
Yeah.
Everybody else is up in the fucking comet partying with the aliens, and
it's
here
also
we are.
It's their job to maintain the website, but not alter it. So the website is still a 90s
An Angel
website.
Fires page.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
It's pretty special.
Excellent.
I'd forgotten. Oops, sorry.
No, if you're still going, go ahead.
They say that I had forgotten until Jake mentioned it, which is sad because when I saw the episode, I thought, oh wow, that's just too perfect. The fact that Dukat, refers to himself as the emissary of the Pah-wraiths, because again, it's like he wants the Bajorans to love him. He wants to be better than Cisco. It's just
he likes it when you call him master.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
It's like, where is this coming from?
Everyone has to take a vow of abstinence, except when Dukat says otherwise.
Well, let's be fair. Didn't say you had to abstain. You just got to wear a rubber.
Oh,
I
really?
think they said
births.
vows of abstinence, didn't they?
They may have. I
I
possibly
think so,
missed it.
yeah.
What
Yeah,
happens
yeah.
if any of your members are Vulcans and they hit Ponfar?
I don't know if you had Vulcan member. I'd be very surprised if there was a Vulcan member of the Pah-wraith cult.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Yeah.
not very logical.
Yeah.
But if there were, you're just like, you know what? We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. And he tries to kill all of us.
Yeesh.
Yeah, how about that poison he had though?
Oh yeah.
That was that's another good seeding of things by the writers, I think.
It looked like a spree.
Yeah, it did kind of look like a spree. Or I thought,
Or
like
a sweet
mint,
tart.
some kind of mint or something. But they seeded the idea that, oh yeah, it'll kill you painlessly and quickly, and then within hours your body will be turned to dust.
Yeah.
Which, later comes back when Kira's like, oh yeah, he was planning to take, eat the mint, and then fuck off, and then, probably leave a pile of his clothes somewhere. Just like
To make them think that he had actually done it and gone through with it.
When really he's just running around naked somewhere.
Because it's actually what it is. It's not even actually his clothes. It's a set made to look like one of his sets of clothes, but they're actually for like a beefier man with a bigger hog.
What are you talking about? His hog?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I just feel like Gul Dukat's one of those guys who want people to think he has a bigger dick than he did.
But surely having a lot of extra fabric that doesn't show anything doesn't help to give that impression.
I mean, it's Gul Dukat. He's not thinking this through.
You don't
just
know.
a massive codpiece.
There you go. That's how to go. Call up Chris O'Connell from like Batman and Robin and get that shit.
He's actually just, that's what it is. In the pocket, there's just a bunch of
Bananas.
just extra
Cucumbers.
large condoms.
Yeah, a bunch of monster condoms for his magnum
that
dong.
too. Are they
Well done,
monster energy condoms?
Yes. You know what surprises me though, that in the suicide scene, looked like he was pretty much ready for his child to take the pill, which surprises me. Yeah.
whole
well,
one.
a great family man like Dukat. It is shocking. Yeah.
Well, he was going to kill Zial that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
that one
I was
time.
being
I
very
know.
sarcastic.
I don't know. I feel like by the end, they're like Zial's death was kind of his unraveling. So maybe he's just.
Do you think
just-
it was her death or the fact that what's his ass betrayed him? Like, do you think it's more, oh no, my lovely daughter, or oh no, someone disrespected me enough to do this?
Well, the thing is, he didn't have time to get attached to this one.
That's true.
He had time to get attached to Zial.
He only had time to be surprised by it and think up a lie and think it up quick.
Oh man, and this one, I've read some excellent stories about the baby in this fucking episode. Because there are many, many, many rules about having a baby actor. Most of them are time related in that you can only shoot with them for like 20 minutes at a time for like an hour total in your whole day. So you really have to schedule around the baby. And also that you can't put all these prosthetics that you want on its stupid baby face. So they decided,
What a waste.
let's not go the baby route. They contacted the doll makers who made Chucky, yes, that one, to make them a doll that looked half Cardassian, half Bajoran. It was way too big. It was bigger than a baby should be. And when they did the scene with Dukat, like, walking around, carrying the baby, it looked so bad that they said, no, we cannot use this. No, please, God, no. Dear prophets, God, help us. We did all of it with just, a bundle of blankets and had Dukat walk around with a bundle of blankets and said, okay, we're going to have a baby, like a real one, in like literally a 2-second scene. Just show the face, show that it has a little bit of shit on the face that we just stick there and take right off. And then we're done thinking about this goddamn fucking baby.
I really hope that the terrifying baby now lives on a shelf in Bluebeard's house.
Who?
What's his name?
Berman?
No,
Irish
Bluebeard.
Stephen Bear.
I don't know.
Yeah,
who
Irish
you're
Stephen
talking-
Bear.
Oh. You say Bluebeard and I think pirate, Chris.
No, I
Bluebeard is
know.
the guy that murders all his wives. That's Bluebeard, isn't it?
Wasn't he also a pirate?
I don't think so.
That's Boo Berry.
No, that's
He
a
murders
breakfast
all of
cereal.
his wives.
That's a breakfast cereal you're thinking of, Jake.
That's why all the breakfast cereal mascots are men.
Because Blueberry killed all their wives.
No, he married and killed each of the female ones.
Okay, all right. I guess I accept your theory.
I also loved when they were all like mad that Dukat wasn't going to take their sweet tart. And it looked like the guy holding the baby was going to throw his
Throw it at him.
film. And then I was like, he's going to throw the
Yeah.
baby at him. Yay!
Yeah.
That made me happy.
That moment too, like it's like the thought is suddenly dislodged from the prison of his mind. Like it's been there the whole time, but but it's like he vomits up that thought. Like
This isn't my
real.
baby.
This is my baby. I'm suddenly deciding that right now.
Out the airlock it goes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's
the fact that guy was buying it for as long as he appeared to be buying it.
I don't think he really did. Like, I think in his heart of hearts he knew.
Yeah.
Do you guys know? I feel like I mentioned this to you, but it made me think of that. There's a Jim Gaffigan skit where he's talking about how, like what must it have been like for Mary to explain to Joseph about how she was suddenly pregnant. And she's like, so, how we're pregnant and we've never had sex? And Joseph's like, yeah, and, she's like, well, last night an angel visited me and now I'm pregnant. And, he's, Jesus Christ. And she's like, oh, you've already heard about it then. This whole thing. Anyway, I'm butchering it terribly. Listen to, what is it from? Fuck you, don't say yes. Is that from King Baby? No, it's from, the first one.
Yeah, which would be Beyond the Pale.
Beyond the Pale, yeah. Anyway, listen to that. It's much funnier than me, but it made me think of that scene very much because it was sort of he definitely knows this is not his kid, and he's definitely like, yeah, it's a sign from the Pah-wraiths. Yeah, sure it is, yeah.
It made me think of, there's this old episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and they're
Where
telling...
Dick Van Dyke's wife has a baby with Gul Dukat?
Not exactly.
Oh.
But they're telling Richie about
Love
his
that
birth,
episode.
and about the fact that they got paranoid that he'd been swapped with someone else's kid, because there was another family with a very similar surname, at the same time in the postnatal suite or whatever you call it. And there's this whole thing, they're all freaked out. They get in touch with the family, and they're like, I think we have your kid. And the end of the episode is, there's a doorbell. They're like, all right, they open the door, and it's a black family. And they all just laugh, I think we did not get each other's kids.
Wow.
There's an interesting bunch of old records of America Online conversations with the writers of Deep Space Nine on Memory Alpha. And it's kind of fascinating historically, especially as it comes to Dukat, because it really reminds you what a hard sell a character this horrible was to some sci-fi fans of the time. Because I don't think they were used to this amount of sort of character work of a lot of people were having troubles with wait a minute. He hates the Bajorans, but he wants them to thank him? That doesn't make sense. And Ronald D. Moore just sort of politely, again and again, is like, no, we think he is so deluded that he wants the Bajorans to be thankful to him for his abuse. And today, I think today you could just say, obviously, he has a savior complex. He has a Cardassian savior complex. But this sort of character work in sci-fi in the 90s was not really done that much on Star Trek. And it's kind of, I sort of feel grateful for this Gul Dukat. Every Kira Gul Dukat episode adds something to Star Trek that was not there previously. Yeah. And it is really thoughtful for a show that for 30 years had been about, you can fix societal ills through technology. You can cure poverty like you can cure a broken leg. And what's missing for that is oppression, is subjugation. And, Kira and Dukat have a relationship, but they will never, I think prior to this, a Trekkie might believe that someday they could both hold hands and skip in the field singing tra-la-la. But the thing that they get is that at the end of the episode, Kira gets to go home. And Dukat is not in charge of her or her people anymore. And that's the improvement. That's the optimistic future.
Yeah. I have a great quote that I really love from the director, John Kretschmer, who says, Kira and Dukat are locked together like two cats in a bag.
Yes.
And I think that is perfect. That is so perfect.
Yeah. Because she can't either let it alone either. She's too invested to not at least get in his face a little bit, even though she knows she's not going to convince him. And she just, I love stuff she says, oh, I can be discreet. Yeah, discreet Kira.
The top of the episode, she's talking about, I just came out of the Bajoran chant night where we talked about forgiveness, and I said, because Kira is so forgiving.
Exactly.
Great, this is paying off already, and I love it.
Well, that's why they have to have hours and hours long, services about it, because Kira is like, okay, but what if your people were oppressed by this one dude for decades?
If Odo went to those services, he would be bored out of his mind and would just be a puddle the whole time and say, fuck all this.
I don't know. I was actually curious about why she didn't just say to him, you're so interested in my services, why don't you just come one time?
Because he would insist on asking questions.
Not necessarily, but if he did get bored, as Ames suggests, he could just shapeshift himself into his eyes being open and paying attention, and then just do whatever type of soupy hibernation Odo's species can do.
He actually, he just creates a shell of himself sitting in there. And then there's a smaller him inside playing a Game Boy.
A really tiny Game Boy.
Yes.
That is also made of himself. Or is it? Did he just hide it in subspace?
Who knows?
Well, I'm asking you. I'm letting it be up to you.
The rules with Odo are very complicated.
I love Odo. But what I've noticed, actually, and I complained about it frequently while we listened to this week's episodes, is I've noticed that this season so far, Odo hasn't really gotten any play whatsoever.
That's true. Now that he's in a relationship, he doesn't get to develop anymore.
It's actually kind of funny, to be honest. Like, it's almost like what you would expect them to do to, like, a woman character once she is married. Like, when people talk about, oh, you know, when Santa Claus is coming to town, like, you know, at first Jessica is, like, a freedom fighter with them and trying to do anything, and then she gets married to Santa Claus and she doesn't say another fucking word the rest of the show.
Yep, doesn't have a
And
single
that's
line.
true. She's got, like, 15 minutes of show wherein she does not speak. So I just feel like Odo is getting that. And it's like, okay, Odo has a girlfriend now, so Odo gets to have a stupid little quip at the beginning of an episode, or say shit like, oh, I wish I believed in anything, I could go to church with Kira. And that's all. It's like, he's always like, Kira has such great faith. I would like to go to church with Kira. Oh, I'm just ordering Kira some wine. Oh, I'm doing this for Kira. It's like, dude, Odo, remember when you were a character? And I guess like that's the problem, is that this is the problem of will they, won't they? Well, yes, they will. It's like, well, that was one of the compelling and interesting things about his character, was watching him have these, like, you know, human-esque feelings for other humanoids, but not knowing how to act on them. And now that he, you know, we know that he will, the will they, won't they is out the window. It's just kind of like, anything else? You gonna raise any more goopy babies or anything like that?
I think for now he is taking it easy. You know, I think he sort of feels like he won the lottery with Kira. And, like, you know, sometimes
he's right.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely, he's right. And, you know, sometimes you just want to take it easy a little bit and, like, not just enjoy where you are for a time.
Okay, well, I like that.
I hope he comes back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like that as an Odo as if he were a real person type of explanation, but since I know him to be a character being written by people, I just feel like the people who write him are being lazy and fucking him up, and it makes me sad. So
Like
I
I've said, no plan.
Yeah. I mean, it would be...
well, there's just not much left, you know. It's like we're halfway through season 7, rather, at this point, and I'm just like, where's my Odo? No more good Odo stories?
That's a good point. I mean, it would be interesting to know more about how a shapeshifter, non-shapeshifter relationship operates. Like, I'm sure they have a bunch of,
I was going to say, all the scenes they wrote were declared inappropriate for network television.
Or Deep Space Nine After Dark.
That's the real problem.
I know pornography when I see it. That's pornography. Yeah, I don't know. I like if it was Deep Space Nine, if it Mass Effect 9, Deep Space Nine, we would definitely know all about what type of genitals she has, what kind of genitals he has, and what kind of balm or aftercare they need to make sex between their species work. But it's Deep Space Nine, so I guess we're just assuming heterosexual missionary. I don't know.
Tentacles everywhere.
No, there's no tentacles. Though I suppose he could have tentacles. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone has explored this in great detail on AO3, so...
All right, this is getting weird. Do we have any more thoughts on Covenant, or shall we shift
Speaking
gears?
of tentacles everywhere.
What? Okay, well then I'm gonna shift.
Wait, Carl.
I was gonna say just about Fala. Fala is the name of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's dog, and I don't know.
Bizarre.
I don't know if that's... I just believe there's enough, like, presidential history geeks on that writing staff that wasn't a coincidence. And I don't know what it means, but I like that it kind of makes him seem more of a toady.
Dog.
A little bit.
Well, yeah,
There we go.
she's literally the lapdog of
Yeah.
Gul
Yeah,
Dukat.
there you go.
She said, making the subtext text. Was Roosevelt the one who, like, who was it that had, like, a major stroke and then his wife ran the country for a while? Was that Roosevelt? Or was
No,
that
that
somebody else?
was...
I think that's Wilson.
Wilson, yeah, you're right.
Roosevelt was the one who had polio and basically managed to hide it from the country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, he was never photographed in his wheelchair and stuff.
Yeah. You know what? I think I read somewhere that at Yalta, Roosevelt's dog would not stop humping Stalin's leg.
Yes.
So there's your
Is
connection.
that true?
There you go.
So
No,
did Vedic Fala.
I just made that. There were no dogs allowed at the Yalta conference.
That's
No.
too bad.
Churchill hated them.
Really?
No.
Never listen to
Damn it,
Jake.
Jake.
Churchill didn't hate dogs, he hated the Indians.
See, I'm gonna go around like, yeah, you know, Churchill really didn't care for dogs.
Weren't we trying to segue a little while back?
We were.
Segue.
Suppose.
Here it is. The segue.
Ah, yes.
Next up, brought to you by Potsie, It's Only a Paper Moon.
What's Potsie?
Richie Cunningham's best friend in
Happy Days.
He directed this episode.
I don't... Okay,
Oh.
sure.
The guy
I
who
will
directed
believe
this
you.
episode had a recurring and important role in Happy Days.
Yes,
That's all.
and he actually,
the
it turns
character
out...
he played was called Potsie.
Yeah, and when I looked him up, he directed the first Augments episode, and will be directing 4 episodes of Voyager.
Oh, look at that.
You say Potsie, and I assume it's a delicious snack.
No,
It does sound tasty.
It
I don't know what it
is-
would be, but I would eat it. For sure.
So, in It's Only a Paper Moon, Nog has finally been let back to DS9 after spending several months on some other station getting surgeried and psychoanalyzed and physical therapied for the leg he lost at AR 558. And they want to throw a party, and he's like, I just want to go to bed. And it's like, yeah, guys, seriously, leave the poor bastard alone. He is using a cane, even though all medical tests say his pain receptors aren't firing, but he's like, my leg hurts all the time. And we've been talking a lot about Star Trek and psychology lately, so, oh boy! One thing that sort of brings him any kind of peace is Vic Fontaine's rendition of, which was it?
See you again or something?
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah. Anyway, so he plays it incessantly in their room, his and Jake's quarters, and Jake finally snaps and is like, if you want to hear this song, go to the damn holosuite. And Nog goes, hey, Starfleet regulations say I can spend my medical leave wherever I want. So he goes to Vic, listens to Vic sing the same song 15 different ways, and is like, can I stay with you? And Vic's like,
Can I crash
sure,
on your
Pally?
couch, Vic?
Sure, Pally.
Yeah. And he crashes with Vic for a while and starts to really enjoy himself. And at first, Esri pops by and is like, yeah, all right, we'll see where this goes. In one of his cleverer moves, Vic gives Nog this crazy lion cane that has a lighter built in. But also, the real key is he can't put his full weight on it. And
Kind of fragile.
yeah, and he admits, I don't need to put my full weight on it. And he sits around living the Vegas life, but he's still not necessarily getting better. One night Jake drops by with his latest Bajoran girlfriend, and, she's like, oh, wow, you're a hero. And he's like, that's the last thing I want to hear. I have the PTSD. And then she's staring in his lap, and he's like, oh, you're wondering which leg it is. Whereas in reality, she was probably wondering, our Ferengi is well endowed, as I've heard.
Jesus.
And he flips out, punches Jake. Vic's like, go to my room. And, they leave. And Vic's like, all right, look, you can stick around, but calm down. And then there's been this kind of running thing about Vic talking about his books. And finally, Nog's like, let me take a look at him. I'm a Ferengi.
I can't believe it took that long for them to get to the... because he complains about the books the first time he's there.
Yeah.
And, I just feel like any Ferengi worth his lobes would be
Well,
all
he
over
was
it
still-
this first time.
He's in pain.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. You're right.
So he starts looking at the books between watching old movies on Vic's TV. Before long realizes Vic is apparently loaded. They start planning an expansion. They're going to build a casino.
Hollow
and-
loaded.
Yes, hollow loaded.
All loaded.
He's loving it. Vic is like on all the time and actually living a life and enjoying it. And, eventually Vic kind of loses focus on the goal, and Esri drops by and is like, wow, look at him. He's getting confident. He's getting better. He'll probably be able to leave soon. And Vic's like, oh, right. Leave. Pally. Ooh.
How many more songs can I sing you, Esri, before you leave?
Yeah.
8.
And I mean, eventually it does work out to the point where Vic's like, you know what? I've lost sight of this. I'm keeping you here when you could live a real life. I mean, I've been having fun living my fake life, but you've got a real one. And he switches himself off because he can.
After Aaron Eisenberg gives us some of the best damn acting
Oh,
we've
yeah.
ever seen.
Oh yeah, he is.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I know this is just the summary, but we got to remember to get back to that because that was.
Yeah.
I got a story.
seriously
We will get back to
gorgeous.
it.
Good.
Yeah, so then he tries to force him back on by tinkering with the holodeck. The chief drops by. He's like, yeah, Vic don't work that way. And he leaves. And there's an uncovered moment. It's like, wait, so is Vic actually alive? And the chief's just like, oh, fuck no. You and Picard can talk about that shit.
I'm an
leaving.
engineer, not a philosopher.
This is too complicated.
Yeah, so then Vic pops up and is like, hey, see, Pally, oh.
Hey,
And,
bada bing, gabagool.
Finally, Rom leaves the holodeck, forgetting his cane.
Nog.
Nog, I mean. There's a nice family moment with him and
Lita and Rom and
Quark.
yeah.
And then he pops back. He's in uniform. He's, getting back into his duties slowly but surely. And he's arranged to keep Vic switched on so Vic can...
live his leaf.
Yeah.
So I just thought of something.
Yep.
What?
I mean, all of this is a holodeck program.
Yep.
Like, we will talk about that because what the actual fuck is this holodeck program? But Vic gives Nog this cane and says you can't put your full weight on this cane. It's a hollow cane. You could just program the hollow cane if you wanted to accept more of his weight. Fuck goddamn table flip.
But he did it on purpose. That part of the point of it was he was trying to get him to realize he didn't need a cane.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
And
but I think Nog would there's a way you could have figured it out.
Well, I think Nog was very taken with the illusion.
Okay, the lion was very cute.
What I enjoyed, too, is I said, oh, man, of course he's going to like it. It's going to remind him of the Grand Negus's cane. And then he said, oh, it's like the Grand Negus's.
And I had the same thought. Like, you were literally saying what I was thinking, and then Nog was like, oh, yeah, check this shit out.
Yeah, except
but
this
I
one
love
has
it
a
later
lighter
on,
in it.
because he's a total fucking pimp lighting ladies' cigarettes with the damn thing. It was amazing.
I meant to look up if that actually was a cane Errol Flynn owned. Because it feels like there's a halfway decent chance he could have. Because he claimed it was a replica of an Errol Flynn cane.
Except his is a little longer.
Yes, yes.
No. You meant literally. It wasn't innuendo. I remember, I was not watching. So last week I got spoiled knowing that it was a Vic Fontaine episode because I watched the credits very closely and was very annoyed when I saw, with, this guy, James Darren.
James Darren.
James Darren is Vic Fontaine. So I missed it this week. But so he's listening to the song and, whatever. And Jake's like, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. And I was like, oh, cool. We're going to go see Vic Fontaine. And then I was like, oh my God, he's going to go live with Vic Fontaine. I was figuring it out, half a step ahead, which for me is pretty good. And at first I was really like, oh, God damn it. It's going to be another goddamn Vic Fontaine episode. He's going to sing the whole time. This is going to be bullshit. But I kind of liked the songs they picked this time because they felt... At least the Paper Moon one, obviously that's where they got the name of the episode, but it also, Chris pointed out, felt like it fit the theme of the episode well, because it was talking about, if you believe in it, it's real kind of thing. Sort of the theme of that song, so I don't know.
If you believe you're experiencing pain, it's real, or if you believe in Vic's fucking holodeck, it's real.
I mean,
all of
yes, I think yes.
If you believe in magic.
Really.
And you'll always have a friend wearing big red shoes.
Oh, no, thank you.
I think that's right. You know what? When I asked for this episode, I'd forgotten it was in the middle of a string of episodes where Vic Fontaine becomes the protagonist of the show. But
yeah, but it's the Vic Fontaine show now.
Starring Vic Fontaine. And I think that the thing that is different is he has something to do. And not only does he have something to do, but it's kind of perfect because he is really a manic pixie dream Vic in most episodes. But now that he is used for therapy, he can he can use the resources of the computer to think of stuff to get Rom to do. And it really, I like this episode for the same reason I like The Voyage Home, which is it's a character piece mostly, but there's a lot of sci-fi questions embedded in it. Will we be seeing therapy like this and treatment like this?
Not from Emissary, that's for sure.
Yeah,
well, and so actually, though, sorry, Carl, I didn't mean
No, I'm done.
Oh, I was just going to say, though, to the Emissary point, I feel like it just feels like Troy all over again in that, hey, we actually have a therapist character now, but you know what? This fucking guy who isn't even a real fucking person, I bet he has more expertise than... How many years did you study brain science and psychology? It's 10 years? Oh, no, this guy definitely knows better than you. What is she, a therapist? Oh, she is. You're saying she is a therapist? Still better. Give it to Vic Fontaine. I don't know.
Let's convince Nog he's an android and then pawn him off on Data.
Perfect.
All of this is a great idea.
No, but seriously though, that's the thing. It's it's you actually do have someone who could be working this out, and Emissary kind of Like, she's the one who sort of talks to Vic, and Vic's kind of like, oh, you know what, let me give it a shot. But then afterwards, she's like kowtowing and she's like, oh, you're the expert. Ooh. And it's like, Esri, no, you're literally the expert. Like, why is this happening?
So not is the problem.
What I liked, too, was she basically convinced Ben it was a good idea by using Ben's favorite method, which was just, let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Right.
The throwing science at the wall method.
When she comes in and she's telling Vic, like, wow, your idea is so great to get him feeling good enough that eventually he'll leave. And Vic's like, oh, and it feels like she's like reverse psychologying Vic to make sure this is the thing she makes sure he's doing. But I think Esri just didn't understand, and that's actually what she thought was happening.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
That's right, I think. I think the latter.
She was definitely giving Vic more credit than...
Right, because you watch Vic have the moment of like, my idea? Oh, yeah. That was the plan the whole time. Hey, ooh, you know.
Yeah.
Let's wait till we build this casino.
I'll tell you what I like about Esri's decisions in this, at least, is she is always on the patient's side. That's really a good point. You know, I was starting to wonder sort of if she was the best counselor in Star Trek history by default. But,
Guinan.
Guinan. Can't forget Guinan.
Well, as far as ones that are actually officially Starfleet counselors,
Guinan
let's say.
is officially a bartender.
Yeah.
And mystical space lady.
I feel like Therapist 101 would at least know to let the patient take the lead, and she does that. You know, she does that in a way that kind of ruins her character. That's a good point. But it's sort of... I'm still intrigued by the possibility of like what could happen in this, and especially considering, you know, we're probably like 12 episodes away from that weird rant O'Brien had about how ship's counselors are useless. Like, I feel like at a certain point the show said, you know, we just can't do the horrors of war if we are going to sort of shit on mental illness or mental, PTSD treatment of soldiers, treatment of victims. And this is sort of an attempt to make that happen. How did you all think of Vic's plans and how the interplay between them read?
Which plans?
Just Vic's plans of kind of sneaking him into mental health.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think he tried the bookkeeping thing early, and it just didn't, like, Nog just wasn't ready for that.
Was that just all a ploy to get Nog interested, or was he actually trying to balance his books?
No, I think he was probably, because he did the same thing with the cane, right? Like,
I think so too.
All just like, okay, I'm going to try to get this kid thinking about something other than the horror that he experienced. You know, so what are things that will get him out of this funk? And he's a Ferengi. He probably likes bookkeeping.
Vic is also the only person that when Nog says, "It hurts, my leg hurts," says, "I believe you."
Yes.
Well, everyone else, including fucking Esri, says, your leg doesn't actually hurt. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. By the 24th
fair,
century, the only psychology is pop psychology.
Yeah. Yep.
What were you going to say, Caitlin?
No, I don't remember. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that he has some good plans, and then he gets to be for a while and loses track of them. And again, we really just get into this question of who the fuck is the guy that programmed Vic?
What is Vic anymore?
Vic is... I'm pretty sure Vic's alive at this point. Like, there's no denying...
I mean, if he can, like you said, if he can turn himself off and on.
Yeah.
The thing is...
Speaking of... Go ahead, Ames.
The thing is, he's also fully aware that everyone else that he's always serving, unless, say, Jake comes in with a date, everyone else is holograms. So all this net gains he's making off of people coming to the lounge are fake people. And what
money.
kind of a life is that if he's alive? And it's insane.
Maybe
it's absolutely out of control.
Eventually, it won't be enough for him. He's gonna try to pull a Moriarty and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I said it was a joke. There's a cutscene where he's sitting there with Nog, like, all right. So explain this Mr. Data to me again, and the fact that he's considered people.
Yeah. Well, I think that Vic and Moriarty are the same species. They are the same type of life form. And I think probably, the Doctor from Voyager would also be a similar life form.
Vic is just less evil.
I mean, it's just, but I don't, it's not evil or not evil.
He's comfortable with what he is.
Yeah, well, so is Moriarty to an extent. To the extent that he
I think wants
understand.
something more, though.
Well, he wants to be a real boy.
Agreed, yeah.
I think the thing that they all want is autonomy. And Moriarty is evil, but he's just drawn that way, right?
Yeah.
It's...
Well, and even he, really, at the end of the day, he's just asking for his freedom.
Yeah.
Which, that's reasonable.
I think there's a huge ethical issue, that started with Moriarty, and now we have it with Vic, and, we're going to have it with the Doctor eventually as well, but
Well, what's interesting with Vic, though, is he's possibly the most advanced of the three, because his simulation, if you leave him on, he gets tired. I feel like Moriarty and the Doctor, if you leave them on, they might get annoyed, but they're not actually going to get sleepy. Vic can go to bed.
Yeah, Vic Fontaine actually sleeps.
And, there's even that moment. Yeah, he might.
Oh.
He might.
I don't know.
He might need to eat. There's that moment where Nog says, "Do you dream?" And he dodges the question.
Oh, wow.
We know that it was a big deal where Data was programmed to eventually be able to. I don't know if it ever comes with the Doctor. I don't remember. But, if he can...
I feel like there's going to be a season 8 plot arc where we find out that Vic Fontaine is actually a positronic brain from the future that has taken over the holodeck system.
Well, didn't we joke earlier that what really happened was his program somehow merged with Pup? And that's what makes him so advanced.
That's good.
Pup wasn't purged that time. They had to purge the computer. He, hid in the holodeck, and now he's part of Vic.
Well, listen, I'll say this. You say he's so advanced, but part of his treatment is about as shitty as O'Brien's that time when they're like, okay, our time's up in this holosuite. Time to just turn it off and totally traumatize the person who's using it. That's what they did to poor adult feral...
Molly.
Right, but O'Brien, he's not actually a therapist.
No, I know, but...
And he realized he had begun to do more harm than good.
Nog pours out his heart about how scared he is, and he's just like, yeah, well, tough shit, Pally, computer, you turn off. Cancel.
Funny.
I can't help you with that yet.
Yeah.
Computer, bada bing.
No,
the
you
really,
just did it
really
again.
fascinating thing about this episode.
Sorry, 1 second.
What the fuck did you guys do?
Cancel.
I turned on my Alexa.
But the second time you did it on, it was why?
I tried to say it quietly enough that it wouldn't hear me.
You're loud though.
You guys are
I don't
failures.
know. Wow, thanks. I already knew that, so I'm not hurt by it.
No, that's not what I meant. No, but I was going to say, the actual fascinating thing about this episode, because I start reading in my big book of books, and it's all Ira Bear being man, this episode was such a weird thing we did. We had it such that none of the principal characters were very important. It was an episode about a fairly minor character and a character who we only just recently introduced as the focal points.
But who's already been in more episodes than Nog.
Than Esri too, I'm sure.
Well,
and they said this was so unusual for us that it felt like we were really rolling the dice. And I think it's actually fairly fascinating because A, Aaron Eisenberg is a fucking treasure, and B, it made the Vic Fontaine character more intriguing than he had been in any of the other episodes.
Oh,
he did sing too much. I will always say Vic sings too much. But I at least found him interesting in this episode.
Yeah, this was definitely my favorite Vic Fontaine. And Chris clued me in after we watched it. This was the episode that you all had told me was there's this great Vic Fontaine episode. So I agree with you. There is a great Vic Fontaine episode, and I really liked it. I loved
the Vic Fontaine episode I was talking about was Emperor's New Cloak.
That's next week. We'll
What?
see what
I
Vic's talking
haven't
about
seen
next
that
week.
one yet. I have no idea what you mean.
She liked this episode so much that we spent a while just listening to James Darren music.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
no.
like, I asked Alexa if she could just play me Vic Fontaine. She couldn't, but good news, there's a 1999 James Darren album, which seems to be Vic Fontaine sings his hits, because the like second to last track on it is like Paper Moon or whatever the fuck it's called.
What was
So-
really funny was she first asked for Vic Fontaine, and it was like, I can't find the songs you're looking for, but here's... It was like, oh my god, if it says James Darren, I'm gonna shit a brick.
No, I didn't.
But it was
know.
some
just some other crap.
other-
I don't
Here
remember
is
what it was.
Dick Fountain.
Oh, my favorite, obviously.
Well, I think Eisenberg has been really just stepping up in terms of that. What's great about him in this last couple of years of the show is he has been so gung ho, and now with this, it's kind of like, it's almost like if you have a kitten, and then the kitten gets into an accident, and then comes home from the vet, and their personality is completely changed. It's like that. Like it's you can tell so much has happened inside his head.
Well, like, and he even says, like, he thought, all this horrible shit that's happening around me, it could happen to anybody, but it's not going to happen to me, and then it happened to him.
And that's pretty much like, that must be how you have to think in a war, to
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
keep
no
your
shit.
mind
If
intact.
If you think that, I'm definitely gonna die. Like, well, then what would keep you there if that's
Like,
what you
it's-
thought?
It's interesting to look back at what was the episode where fucking Red Squadron had their own Defiant,
The
like
Valiant.
a bunch of
Oh.
idiots.
Oh,
And-
Valiant?
Yeah, Valiant.
Yeah,
that's the one.
that's right.
And they got everybody killed because they were a bunch of stupid children who couldn't play war.
Yeah.
And Nog is in the middle of that, seeing it all go wrong and seeing everybody get killed. And yet I feel like it wasn't personal for him the same way it was in Siege of AR-558. Like,
Well,
in that one, it was
yeah.
more, oh, Red Squadron failed, people can die here, and less, oh god, I'm actively getting shot and losing a leg. Like, that's such a different thing that now it's all of a sudden a threat to him.
Yeah, and even though he didn't talk about it in the Siege of AR-558, he also, like, along with losing his leg, he blames himself for the lieutenant or commander or whatever who dies during that same sequence. Because it was his job to listen out, and he didn't hear in time. And so I think that's, even though he didn't talk about it, that's part of it too. It's like, nothing that happened with Red Squad was his fault, really.
Right.
Like, he went along with them, but he wasn't giving orders, he wasn't doing this or that, and like...
And in fact, you could argue that the only people that did survived because of his getting them the fuck out of there, I would say.
Yeah. But yeah, nope, lost it, sorry.
Well, it's so wonderful how rude he is throughout this whole episode. And like we get it too. Like we and one thing that I think makes Vic kind of effective is he's the only one in this who sets limits with Nog at all. Like, I mean, granted, Nog, physically assaulted a fellow patron, but everyone else is sort of doing that thing where they're making Nog feel guilty for not being better. Not unintentionally.
Yeah.
But
Even
Vic,
Lita.
Even Lita.
I was like, hmm.
Yeah, but I think essentially too, like, what really sets him up before he even gets to the leg thing is like being called a hero.
Yeah.
When that's the last thing he feels like. And, you gotta wonder, like, we do just sort of, that's what you do is, someone comes back from war and they're a hero. Just, and it's like, how many people want to hear that, I mean, sure, I'm sure some do, and I'm sure some feel that way, but I'm sure there are many who are just like, some are just like, I just did a job, and maybe they were lucky and really didn't see any shit at all, and they're just like, I spent all this time behind a desk in Germany, who we haven't been at war with in 70 years.
We don't call those people heroes.
You know what I mean, though. But, like...
We say, like, thanks for your service, but...
Well, yeah, but if you don't know what a person's actual service was,
I'm just kidding.
But, yeah, I mean, it's, we just automatically throw this title around, and there might be some people who are like, no, please don't.
Especially when, I mean, I haven't seen AR 550 in a while, but he didn't help his friend survive? Is that correct?
So he was supposed to listen out for an ambush, and he didn't hear it quite fast enough, so someone was taken out.
Yeah, he would feel guilty for that immensely.
Yeah, and that's also that same sequence is when he took the shot to the leg that cost him it. So, yeah, it's...
I remember watching that episode, and I'm like, wait, is he actually going to lose his leg? And I was like, no, but, like, is he actually, I was like, not the actor, but the character, is he actually going to lose his leg? And Chris was like, yeah, his leg's gone. And I was like, what?
This is war. This is war.
Well, I know,
this should be happening all the time.
I, like Nog, am used to, my key players surviving untouched, So I was like, wait, are they actually taking Nog's
I had to say
leg?
yes like 3 times.
Yeah, I did. I asked, I was like, no, but like actually? And he was like, yes.
If someone asks if Nog is losing a leg, you say yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I know it's also quite beautiful because apparently like a lot of veterans and people who had post-traumatic shock reached out to Aaron Eisenberg afterwards and said like what a great job he did in this episode, that his portrayal was like spot on.
Nice. Good for him.
And again, just that emotional scene where he breaks down and expresses like the fear and like we've never seen anything like this from him. I mean, we've known all along that Aaron Eisenberg is a treasure and that he's a great actor. I've come to appreciate his, everything about him, all the ha-has. But this...
There was a good one at the end, too.
There was. But he just, tears. He brought tears forth, from himself, also from me, but I meant his own tears. Like, he was on fire. It was just a really, really incredible scene.
I hate to bring down the room, but I kind of wonder how much of that was from the fact that, like...
his own pain and his own experience. I wondered about that, too.
I have the story right here.
Give it to me, Ames. Because I was wondering about it.
In the script, it's just, Nog, has an emotional moment. And Aaron Eisenberg, basically, in the scene is like, no, I've got to cry. That's the way the scene is going to go. Nog is going to fucking cry his fucking eyes out. And he used a memory that's a little scary, because apparently when he was learning to drive a car, and he's, duping the car, and he bumped his mother and knocked her down, and she was okay. She ended up being fine, but he bumped his mother with the car, and that, like, the guilt of having bumped your mother with a car was something that, like, he drew a lot of emotion out of for this scene. Wow. And, like, it's lovely, lovely work, and, I'm glad his mom was okay.
Yeah, no, me too.
Same.
God damn.
Yeah, it's just such an incredible moment.
Yeah, not bad for a character who started off as an illiterate ne'er-do-well.
Yeah. Yeah, they built him like, whoa.
It's one of the most beautifully Star Trek things they've done. Like, for all the people who are like, oh, this show, it's so dark, it's so this. It's like, but you've got this character who, again, starts off as just sort of a little rapscallion.
Yeah, the first thing we see of him is him stealing shit.
Yeah, like he's basically the leverage Cisco uses to keep Quark on the station. And Cisco, like, doesn't trust him because the one thing it's okay to be racist about in the Federation is the Ferengi. Meanwhile, his son outdoes all the Starfleet officers by being like, no, I'm going to befriend him. And I'm going to help him learn. And, he now wants to join Starfleet for actually some, like, really compelling and interesting reasons. It's not... He doesn't have a Ferengi angle. It's, I don't want to end up like my dad, who could have been so much more, but the Ferengi society doesn't appreciate what he can bring. And it's like, if nothing else, that arc embodies so much of the show's sort of core themes of acceptance and growth and becoming better through reaching across, infinite diversity, infinite combinations, all those things.
It reminds me a little bit of when we were talking about how Gene Roddenberry, put everyone in the box as a way to heighten his humanism, his thought that humans can be so much better than they are. And that's, like, effectively his version of religion is, look at all that humans can do.
Yeah.
And now it's, more people. Look what people can do is probably the better way to put it in this world of aliens and shit. And look what Nog can do.
Yeah.
Nog can do so much, and that's excellent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes this show Star Trek. Like, it's dark. It's dark compared to, like, TOS, I suppose. But, like, the Star Trek stuff day to day fails a lot. Day to day. But over time... It kind of works. Over 7 years, it kind of works, and that's the best thing about Deep Space Nine.
It's sort of the question is what happens to this world that exists when an outside force comes in that is diametrically opposed to everything it believes in.
Right.
Don't talk about Cisco that way.
how do you maintain in the face of something that won't sit down with you? Or will, but their only offer is you capitulate.
Right.
You know, like there is no compromise. There is no third path. It's you give in to us or we make you give in to us.
Yeah.
There are a couple little things I wanted to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I found it a little bit strange that after we get the intro scene of like Rom and Lita getting hyped up to see Nog again, being like, okay, we're not going to stare at the leg, not going to do that, but it's so good that we're going to get to see Nog again. But then Nog goes right off to bed when he arrives. That we don't actually get a scene with father and son until like days have passed.
Yeah.
Like, where was that scene? I feel like we could have cut like 5 Vic songs and had a some kind of Rom scene in which Rom probably fucks it up because Nog has been feeling bad and continues to feel bad for a while. But I feel like we needed them somewhere.
I don't know, because there's a part where Rom's like, my son is crazy, and I
That's
just feel
true.
like he really would have done a lot of damage that would have made me really mad at Rom.
I don't think
I'm glad
Rom's
he
the
wasn't
guy
there.
we want in that scenario.
I'm usually good being mad at Rom, so.
That's the thing. Rom, I feel like maybe just would have, like after that, when he comes in like that, probably did just be like, oh, I should probably wait.
Yeah, I think they have a comfort level or discomfort level with each other. I keep forgetting that Lita is is Nog's stepmother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that hug at the end was pretty great though.
Yeah, it was a nice hug.
I like
even Quark got in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that it was a family moment. I like that Quark was there. It's like, yeah, this is nice.
Well, especially because earlier on, Quark's like, oh yeah, well, like, who's gonna pay for the fucking the therapy and the holosuites? And you're like, Quark, you prick. So I was kind of glad that by the end he came around.
I mean, it's like I said, he had to try. It's Quark.
Well, and like I also said though, Nog said that he could do his therapy anywhere, so maybe at the end of it all, they get to cut Quark a check for letting them use use the facility.
That's what I'm assuming, because if they're gonna say, "Oh, you can do your
Quark bill is insurance
thing everywhere," yeah, like,
yeah.
God,
oh yeah, I want to do it
medical
on Risa for like 6
Hey.
years.
Well, now there's casinos within casinos. It's casinos all the way down.
Yeah,
in
I wonder
Quark's
if
bar.
Quark is going to be looking for a cut of that new casino in the holodeck.
Oh, I'm sure that's half the reason he decided to keep it open.
Yeah.
He can expand his floor space without actually expanding his floor space.
Well, that, but also like he probably, if they're open 24 hours, can probably charge people like just like a club, like a door fee or something, no matter when they go in.
Yeah, probably.
I like that. That is such a positive Ferengi idea towards the end, where if someone helps you, and Vic helped Nog has to return the favor, and I feel like he can't even ask what Vic wants. He has to just provide it.
It's the Great River.
It's the Great River. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's so in character, I think.
it's really going to suck though. Yeah, it's fine to be alive for a few weeks or whatever and hang out with Nog for a while, but eventually Vic's gonna start experiencing depression, anxiety, loneliness.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's a Puff the Magic Dragon situation with Vic and Nog. It's the end of Puff the Magic Dragon is that dragons live forever, but not so little boys. I don't know. Jackie Paper went and found a fleshlight or something. I don't really know. But the point is that Puff is depressed and lost without his friend. And so he just kind of lays in his cave and cries. So I imagine that being what happens to Vic Fontaine.
There's gonna someone's gonna go to the holodeck one day expecting to see a Vic show, and there's just a naked, belligerent Vic on the stage doing windmills with his
on
cock.
the stage.
Throwing feces at the audience.
Goes into 80s performance art.
Hollow feces.
Yeah.
Alternately, whenever he starts to feel ennui, he just goes and has a Rat Pack orgy.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
he was going to take Nog to meet Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, up in Lake Tahoe.
At least that's what I assumed the
Sammy
suggestion
was.
there was. Yeah.
He has that great speech about how if you don't get out of this, you'll be as hollow as I am.
Yeah,
But maybe it's the pandemic talking, but I sort of started to wonder if that was true. Like, could you live on a holodeck theoretically and just kind of interact with the outside world when you had to?
But
You see a little of that in Discovery.
Right.
I feel like every time you're on, Carl, I'm like, you kind of wrote this play. But remember, which one was it where the like dude in his 40s is like,
oh, real, yeah, from Human Contact.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
that's a
similar
really
themes.
great exploration of that theme. And I mean, I was thinking that too. Like even something like what was the thing online? I'm sure it still exists. Next Life or
Second Life.
Second Life. Yeah, that. Like, because basically it just feels like, especially with VR and stuff, it feels like we're not too far away from people legitimately being, you know, hooking up for like hours and hours and hours and spending like
Oh, you didn't even need
days
really
at a time
good
in there.
VR. Just as soon as WoW got big, there were people who were spending every free moment on it.
Right. Like, wasn't what he doing is kind of like Bitcoin mining or something? Like, he could make suspicious money out of.
There we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Bitcoin.
I guess I don't know anything
Bitcoin.
about cryptocurrency, but
Yeah, no, I all I know is like I don't understand it. I never will, and 99% of the people who I've ever heard talk about it are some of the biggest douchebags in the world, so I'm afraid of it.
Yeah, I trust nobody.
Take that.
I said 99 for a very specific reason. I was going to say 100, then I remember, actually, Jake told me about it once.
Okay, but what if they make Vic Fontaine into an unfungible token?
Actually, I think you could do that, right? Isn't that the point?
I think so.
Probably. All right, well, how many hundred thousands of dollars would you pay for Vic Fontaine to never be able to sing his stupid
I was
songs
gonna say
on the internet
if I can buy Vic Fontaine and then delete the program.
Well, it's interesting. They make reference to, Nog hiding in the world of Vic Fontaine, just as the writers of Deep Space Nine are hiding in the world of Vic Fontaine because they don't want to admit their show's about to end.
Right.
Aw.
I mean, I really do wonder though, like, what are the ethics of not allowing Vic Fontaine to run forever? Because
Sure,
you're basically like, if he is conscious and self-aware, which he clearly is, but nobody wants to really admit it. It does seem like making him turn himself off when you don't want to be there seems really unethical.
What are the ethics of having created Vic Fontaine in the first place?
I mean, you've
Our
basically
scientists were too busy asking if we could. We didn't stop to think of whether we should.
Like, what happens when Vic is like, you know what? I want to start doing woodworking. I don't want to sing anymore. I'm getting too old for this shit. Like, is like, no, you're the singer. You have to sing. That's your job.
I like to sing about the moon and the June and the spring.
Well, but at that point, if he decides he doesn't want to do that anymore, is that the point where you could just click the reset button and, maybe...
I mean, what's the ethics of clicking the reset button, right?
Oh, well, I didn't say it was great. I just said that maybe that's what you'd have to do if he started having all these...
They clicked the reset button on Worf's brother, no problem.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. And he was legitimately alive and definitely a,
Spock,
a sentient and or sapient being.
Spock did a partial reset when he made Kirk forget that woman he was in love with.
Yep.
True.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Star Trek's ethics have never exactly been 100% anyway.
Is there a TNG example?
I don't...
I'm sure there is.
That's what I was thinking with this. Like, wow, this is the big boy version of all the Barclay stuff they did.
Yeah.
Like, Barclay was addicted to the holodeck as sort of like to escape from kind of his anxiety, and this is holodeck addiction to escape from everything. And
but
it's
also
like,
anxiety.
Well, yes, but I mean, it's a very different kind, though.
No, I know, obviously.
Like, I couldn't help thinking that. It's like, wow, there's some holo addiction going on. There's questions about AI, like, rights and sentience. Like, this is the most TNG DS9's been in years.
Is it? That's the interesting question for me, though. Like, is it holoddiction or is it treatment? Because I believe, talking about this, I bet there's like a novel out there where Vic Fontaine is an admiral. Like, he has definitely taken the command test at some point in the distant future.
I like that.
But,
idea.
Man, I hope so.
And this is, I always wish there were more sort of. I wish they had done more interesting stuff with the holodeck than they ever did. But this is kind of it.
TNG did so much with the holodeck, they did so much.
Yeah, but that
less.
sucked because they just kept doing the same thing over and over again, which was like Thing realizes it can get out and take over this ship thing.
Yeah.
And there was that time they were attacked by that Windows 95 screensaver. That was a little different.
Oh right, God, that was weird.
So somewhere out there in the distant future, there's a ship that's just run by the Doctor, Vic Fontaine, and all of Rios's holograms.
Nice. I want to be on that ship.
I was going to say, it's the hottest ship in the fleet.
I wanted to close out my notes with the original pitch for this episode.
Oh, no.
Because they're always nothing at all what we actually see, to the point that the writers were like, why are we being paid for this episode? That's not what we wrote at all. So, way back when they pitched Starship Down seasons ago, these two guys, I didn't write down their names. Sorry, guys, I didn't write down your names. But they write down this idea that's just very general. It's everybody goes to Quarks. And it's just it's just any story in which all the plot lines just take place all in Quarks, so you don't need to have any other sets. It's all Quark-oriented. People would go to Quark for their problems, and then we have 3 different plots going on at once. Check them off the list. And they're like, interesting. Not now, maybe later. So this season starts up, and they realize, hey, what if we pull that idea out from wherever the fuck we left it, and instead of Quarks, make it Vics? And they're like, yeah, we love Vic. And by we, I mean Ira Stephen Bear loves Vic. God damn it. So they say, okay, how about we have these 3 separate storylines? 2 of them will be funny, and 1 of them will be serious. And they say, okay, well, we know Nog's gonna lose a leg. That can be the serious one. And they're working on all these stories, and they realize, oh god, the Nog one is taking over. It's just gonna be Nog and Vic. That's what you guys are getting. You're getting a Nog and Vic show. Ta-da!
Though, at least with this one, because I know we've talked about this before, where sometimes you get from A to B, and you go, okay, I can see how that happened. Whereas other times they go A to B, and it's like, what? Yeah, that's not A to B, right. That's A to Q. What happened? There is a missing...
I want to see the episode where Jake is dating an Orion Syndicate person.
That's cool.
Oh, God, I forgot about that episode.
Yeah. That was the original Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah.
We could just imagine that the woman he brought to the holodecks, Orion Syndicate. Why not?
There we go.
Done.
There we go.
It's canon now.
That's the thing is, that's an interesting idea for an episode still, the Quark one. But yeah, I can see at least in this case, it's clear how they got from A to B. It's like we just switched this one thing, and then the serious storyline kind of ate the other 2.
Yeah. And how could it not?
They did good and paid the original writers, even though they did absolutely nothing with this.
Yeah, that's good. To have those, you have those guild strikes for a reason. God damn it.
True.
I was trying to figure out whether I think Jake and Nog will continue to be friends, or if, as they become adults, they will lose touch. Because I really like how they are permanent bad friends who just yell at each other. But I have a feeling at a certain point. I realize, Jake is just plain yelling at Nog through this. Not just in the one scene, but I have a feeling, I realize that they are tight, but I feel like at a certain point they'll be like, you know what? That was a young friendship.
If the Visitor is to be believed, they maintain contact.
Okay.
And that was a Jake with a very different path. Mm-hmm. Who's, old man vanishes and this and that. So, I mean, there's hope.
Okay. Well, they probably will mature. I mean, they'll they'll probably have it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is this has just forced a huge shift for Nog.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen in the Visitor timeline. So who knows? Maybe this does in fact end up causing a schism. We don't know. That's a good question.
We just don't know.
That is a really good question. I'd like to think they last.
I do too, but I feel like most friendships I had that were like that, I've lost touch.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard because, of course, Nog's going to be in Starfleet and Jake's going to be wherever it is he decides to land.
Well, they can send each other postcards and shit.
No, I know, and there's ways to stay in touch, but still, it's...
They can play Jackbox games on Zoom.
Any other thoughts, or?
No, I just want to turn my air conditioner back on for a couple minutes.
That's fair.
Agreed.
Well, speaking of things that are really cool,
Hey.
Subscribing to make sure that you always catch a star to steer her by is the coolest thing you can do.
I love that, Caitlin. That's great.
Well
You're
done.
so welcome. Thank you, yes. You can find a star to steer her by on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Or, I suppose wherever you found it this time, that works. If you're downloading us off the dark web somewhere. This is 20,000 years in the future, and you found us in like an old podcast dump pile somewhere. I don't know if that's how it worked. Under like the still, hundreds of copies of E.T. for the Atari that still have somehow existed. If that's where
Vic
you found
Fontaine
us.
songs.
Yep. If that's where you found us, keep digging. There's more. But if you're here with us in the 21st century, those other ideas that I suggested will work just fine.
If they've already gotten to us, they've already been through like layers upon layers of McElroys and, like we're somewhere towards,
WTF.
Oh, I just assume that they've listened to every other podcast.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
This is the last one.
We'd like to
They blew the
apologize for
dust
Joe
off of
Rogan.
it. But but if subscribing and waiting for next week is not enough for you can check us out on Facebook, where you can search for us by searching for a star to steer her by. You can check out articles and art and fun things that we share there. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at SSHB Podcast, or you can visit our website at sshbpodcast.com, and where you can find lots of good stuff. I'm trying to think, what else? What do we have there? We've got
Nothing new for a while.
Nothing new for a while, but we write about aesthetics and our favorite episodes and fan fiction. We make fan fiction sometimes, so check that shit out. So thanks for joining us. I have been Caitlin.
Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Carl.
Thank you for joining us, Carl.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Anything you'd like to tell these folks at home about?
Check out Unreliable Narrator's Stockholm, coming to the Minnesota Fringe Festival, August 2021. Visit unreliable-narrator.com for details.
All right. Check that out.
Did you say next week's episode?
Not yet, but I was just going to.
Ooh.
And catch us next week when we talk about Prodigal Daughter and the Emperor's New Cloak. We'll see you next week.
And the air conditioner goes on.
Well, hold on.
Clap
Clap it
first.
out. Clap it out.